What up, Busa? This morning on O'Campbell, Gleam and Coffee, we'll be recording 2 more chapters of React book.melange.re and then adding refresh token capabilities to our Gleam Twitch client. Twitch.tv/DMMulroy. Nice logo for the caravan. Thank you. AI made it. Let's see here. Camera. I feel like my hair is in my eyes. It is. There we go. That'll be fine. All right. So this morning we're going to record React Book Melange. We're going to do these 2 chapters, Celsius Converter and Celsius Converter using option. What up, John? So let's jump over to here. And we'll come down here and we'll kill this. And we'll kill that. Clear that. And we'll go to... Great. That looks good to me. All right, let's read through these chapters before we record. So we have a game plan here. Second widget will be one that takes the temperature values in Celsius and converts it to Fahrenheit, creating a file called, okay. This isn't Gleam. Listen, we're gonna get there. Don't worry. Melange bio. All right, so this seems pretty straightforward. I'm guessing this chapter is a little bit shorter. Yeah. Okay. Let me go blow my nose quick, chat. I'll be right back before we record these. Okay. All right, we're gonna turn the music off while we do this. And let's make that full screen, and let's jump over. Oh, hold on. I have some Slack notifications I need to check before we jump in here. Okay. All right, so first time I've seen you without a hat. Yeah, I actually showered this morning before I started streaming, so my hair was not super crazy. Okay, we can close that. Let's full screen this, and let's bring up to this bit. Yeah. All right, let me throw a marker in. And actually, let's go check our console, make sure we have all our dependencies good to go. Do I have OPAM? Can I build? npm build. What is it? Cat. Oh, it's just Vim. Go look at this. What is it? I forget the command or the keybinds for previews. Let's see. Is that in there? Does anyone see preview? I'm gonna sneeze. Oh my god. Thank you. Where the hell is the preview? Am I crazy? I know there's previews. In a preview. Control P. So I should be able to do... There we go. And we're looking for, yeah, npm run build, right? That should work. Npm run build. Okay, that's good. Okay. God. All right, Kyle, I'm gonna mark the chapters here. /mark. And we'll say Chapter 3 Celsius converter. All right, let me take a sip of coffee. God, I almost need to blow my nose again. All right, welcome back to Melange for React Devs. In this video, we're going to cover Chapter 3 on our Celsius converter. The summary of our chapter is taking a single input that converts from Celsius to Fahrenheit. And the topics we're going to cover is the JS type object, string concatenation, exception handling, ternary expressions, if-else expressions, labeled arguments, partial application, and JS quoted string literals. Let's jump in, shall we? Celsius converter. Our second widget will be one that takes a temperature value in Celsius and converts it to Fahrenheit. Create a new file called celsiusconverter.re. So let's grab this and we're gonna go make that file. In fact, let's open these side by side. And we'll come over here and we'll make a new file and we'll say that's going to be celsiusconverter.re, and we'll save that. And let's paste the contents of that in there. celsiusconverter.re. Perfect. And now let's go ahead and try to build. npm run build. That looks happy. And there we go. Okay, so this should be typed as a float. Perfect. The js.t object. Inside the inputs on change handler, we get the event target using react event.form.target, which has the type of taking a react event.form.t to this like spreaded object thing. So what's this? It's shorthand for the js.t object type, which consists of two parts. js.t refers to JavaScript objects in Melange. The other part refers to polymorphic objects, which can contain any fields or methods. Once we have a js.t object, we can use the hashtag operator to access its fields. But beware, because the compiler knows nothing about the types of those fields, For example, we could write react event form.target event value +1, treating it as if it were an integer, and the compiler would not complain. Instead of trusting ourselves to always use form.target correctly, it's a good idea to wrap functions that return polymorphic objects into type annotated helper functions. For example, let get value from event takes an event that returns a string. And then we call it the same thing there and we pass it in. So let's make that change to our code. So let's come up here and we will make this function, and it'll be let get value from event equals event, and we'll return a string. And then in here we'll say react.event.form.target, pass in the event, and then we'll get out the value. And we can take that and we will, let's see here, let's make that a little bit bigger. We'll pass that right here. Oh, too much. Get value from event. And this should come back as a string. Perfect. The colon string after the argument list tells the compiler that this function must return a string. Using the getValue from event function ensures that the value field can't be used as anything other than a string. Another thing to note about onChange is that after the event argument, the body of the callback function is surrounded by braces. OCaml functions are like JavaScript's arrow functions. If they contain more than one line, they need to be enclosed in braces. All right, hold on, Kyle. I have to message Justine quick. Oleski, it is up to date. We're just recording 2 quick videos on 2 chapters in this book, and then we're going right back to Gleam. So if you stick around for like 10-15 minutes, we'll be jumping right back into Gleam after we cover some ReasonML stuff. I will be right back, chat. I have to go check if some concrete dried outside before the dogs go out. I will be right back. All right, we are back. Let me. Okay. Let's go here and then get my hair out of my face. Yeah. Okay. It's getting covered with sod anyways, here in a week or two. All right. So we got here, we went through that. We made the changes. All right. So we'll just jump back right in here. Apply pipe blast. Let's change the render logic to update the Fahrenheit display based on the value of Celsius. So we'll copy this. So let's go in here. And we're going to clear this and we'll say Celsius. And we'll pipe that into float of string. And we'll pipe that into convert. And then we'll say convert that to a string. And then we'll pipe that into react.string, which converts it to a React element. Cool, so that looks good there. The pipe blast operator is very handy here, allowing us to convert a string to float, then convert that float to another float, convert back to a string, and finally convert the string to a React element all in one line. Next up is string concatenation. We should probably put the Fahrenheit symbol after the Fahrenheit value so it's clear to the user what unit of measurement they're seeing. We can do so using the string concatenation operator. So we are going to take this, it looks like, and we'll come here and we're going to wrap this in parens, and then we're going to jump back over here and we're going to add, use our string templates, and we'll put, well, I'm gonna have to copy this. So let's grab that and we'll paste that in there. And that looks right. Cool. Catch exception with switch. However, there's a bug in this code. It will crash if you enter anything into the input that can't be converted to a float. We can remedy this by catching the exception using a switch expression. So we're going to add a block and we're going to switch on the value. Oh, because we could incorrectly convert. Okay, so let's come in here and we'll switch on this and we'll jump to the end of this line, throw a block there, and we'll match on our exception, and we'll say any exception. We'll just return error, and then in here we'll match on our actual string we parsed. If I could type. And we'll do plus plus our string literal. In fact, we can just grab this from there, come to the end of the line, paste that in. And that needs to be an arrow. There we go. That formats, everything type checks. The exception branch will execute if there is any exception. The underscore is a wildcard, meaning it will match any exception. If we wanted to be specific about which exception we want to catch, we could instead write catch failure underscore error. I am going to leave this as is for now, so we catch all errors, but you can effectively pattern match on the types of exceptions that could be raised. Ternary expressions. Right now it correctly renders error when you enter an invalid value, but it also renders error if the input is blank. It might be a bit more user-friendly to instead show $Fahrenheit like before. We can do that by wrapping the switch expression in a ternary. Let's actually get this running before we write any more code and take a look at what we have so far in the browser. So let's jump back over to our index, and rather than rendering our counter component, we want to render our Celsius converter. So we'll save that. We'll open up our console and we'll say npm run watch, and that will start Dune in watch mode, and then we'll run npm. Oops, let's get our shell. Is this gonna, yep, that should be good. It's gonna take a moment. Great. Kyle, you can cut this until this is done. I should have just left open my terminals from yesterday morning, or wrote a Nix flake for this. While this is going, I'm gonna start music because the silence is so loud. Covering concrete with sod, yeah, it's just like a thin little barrier of concrete up against a patio that we had built, and the grass is going to come up to it. It's basically kind of like a mini retaining wall in the ground. Come on. All right, there we go. So now we should be able to run npm run. Actually, I forget the exact command, so let's go check our package JSON. And we have, looks like we can use serve. So it looks like we can use serve. So let's say npm run serve, and that should open Vite for us. Yep, there we go. Perfect. And we have our working converter, but we should get errors if we, yep. So the problem we're gonna fix now is that we have an error by default. We should only get errors when we enter invalid numeric values. So let's go ahead and go back to our file. And in our Celsius converter, we want to come down, and in our block where we render the string, we'll say tab over Celsius equals an empty string. If it does, we will return a string that says $Fahrenheit. We'll drop that in there, and otherwise we'll render our block. So let's see what that change does. So now we have the $Fahrenheit, and if we come in and enter a number, it should work. But if we enter text, perfect. If-else expressions. The ternary expression condition A or B works the same as in JavaScript, but in OCaml, it's also a shorthand for an if-else expression. If condition A, else B. So we could rewrite it as if Celsius equals empty string, return this. Otherwise, return the evaluation of this switch expression. Unlike in JavaScript, the if-else construct is an expression and always yields a value. Both branches must return a value of the same type or you'll get a compilation error. In practice, if-else expressions aren't very common in OCaml code because in simple cases you can use ternary, and in more complex cases you can use pattern matching with the switch. But it's a nice familiar fallback you can rely on when you haven't quite gotten used to OCaml syntax yet. So, as an example of how we could do this with just pattern matching, I'm gonna take some artistic jurisdiction of my own here. We could delete this, we could come here, we'll be back here, and we could do a second switch. So we could say, let's switch on Celsius, and we'll switch on the second value. Maybe I have to, I probably have to enclose this in parens. There we go. So now, rather than just switching on the value of this expression, we're switching on Celsius and that. So now down here, we have two values to match on. So we will match on, actually, let's make a new case here, and we'll say, if Celsius, if our first value we're matching on is, let's see here, how would we want to do this? We'll say an empty string. We will return let's see here. We will return the string that is this guy. And over here, actually, what is this upset about? If we do this and that, maybe this needs to be wrapped in parens. Yeah, there we go. So we come over here, let's wrap this in parens, and finally that. Oh no, we can't match on exceptions like that. Exception patterns are not allowed in this position. All right, never mind. Kyle will cut this part where I changed it. My room is dark? Okay, good luck. We'll fix that. Oh yeah, it is really dark. Also, my hair is crazy. There we go, we'll save that. All right, so disregard what we were just doing here. In fact, I think I'm just gonna put on my hat. All right, yeah, Kyle, so cut back to where we had this before I started talking about refactoring that to doing all pattern matching. So moving on, we're going to cover labeled arguments. If we enter a value with a lot of decimals in it, e.g. this number, we'll get a Fahrenheit value with a lot of decimals in it as well. We can limit the number of decimals in the converted value using js.float.toFixed. So in here, we're going to add our branch where we get our Fahrenheit string, and we're going to js.float.toFixed. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and bump this down, and this will become js.float.toFixed, and we'll pass in Fahrenheit, and we'll give it a labeled argument, digits equals 2, and then we'll plus our bit here, and this is upset. Why is this upset? So this expression is type string, but an expression was expected of type float. Okay, right, because up here, we removed the last part where we convert to a string. So let's remove that, and we'll cut that out, and that should fix our type error, and there we go. And let's go check our code over here. Yeah, now we're forced to only have precision of 2, or 2 decimal places. js.float.toFixed is a function that has one positional argument and one labeled argument. In this case, the labeled argument is named digits, and it's receiving a value of 2. It's not possible to pass in the value of a labeled argument without using the tilde label equals value syntax. We'll see more of labeled arguments in the following chapters after we introduce props. Partial application. You might have noticed the function chain feeding the switch expression got a bit shorter from this to this. This happened because string of float, which takes a single argument, was replaced by js.float2fix, which takes 2 arguments. And functions chained using the pipe can only take a single argument. But this one argument restriction actually doesn't prevent us from putting js.float2fix in the chain. We can take advantage of OCaml's partial application feature to create a one argument function by writing js.float2fix, passing in the labeled argument. Then our switch expression becomes like this. So we can grab this and we can say we're going to pipe that to js.float.toFixed, and we'll pass in our labeled argument of digits, and that'll equal 2. Oh my god. And then down here, we'll take Fahrenheit and we will add it to the symbol. And that should work. Let's go take a look. Perfect. Quoted string literals. Try changing this to this. All right, so let's try that. Let's copy this. And we'll come in here and we'll replace you with that. And let's go take a look. We got, as it calls out, a bunch of gibberish. We can't rely on normal OCaml strings to deal with Unicode correctly, so any string that contains non-ASCII text must be delimited using the JS quoted string literal syntax and not simple strings. This kind of string constant is called a quoted string literal and is specific to Melange, meaning is not available in native OCaml. Nice, we have a working component now, but catching exceptions isn't the OCaml way. In the next chapter, you'll see how to rewrite the logic using options. As an overview, we covered the js.t object types and how it can have fields of any name and type. We learned how to access those fields and how to use type annotations to make those interactions safer. We learned how to concatenate strings, how to use if and switch expressions and ternaries along with pattern matching. We learned that if-else expressions are, well, they're actually expressions that return values. Besides positional arguments, OCaml functions can also have labeled arguments, and if a function takes 2 arguments, we can supply one of them and get a function back that only takes 1 argument. This is called partial application. And we also learned about quoted string literal syntax. So let's jump into our exercises. This compiles, or it's possible to rewrite onChange callback. Here, I'm going to restart Kyle. So for the first exercise, it's possible to rewrite the onChange callback to be a one-liner. So let's go ahead and change that. And we'll be in here, and this is going to be get value from event, delete that. This compiles now, but it contains a hidden bug. Do you know what silent error might occur? I actually don't know what the problem is here. It might be with the event not persisting, potentially. Oh, we forgot to fix this. Let's copy that and go back and get rid of our gibberish. There we go. That should fix that. And we'll paste that in. Oh, we don't need a double onChange. So let's copy that and replace that. There we go. I actually don't know what the potential error is. So let's check the hint. the get value from event function is no longer being invoked in the same scope as before. It's being invoked inside of the callback here. So is it possible? I think this is an event persist problem. Rewriting the onChange handler to use a single expression creates a potential problem with stale values coming from the event object. Inside of onChange, we can expect the function getValue from event to return the latest value of the input. However, we are now calling getValue from event from a different function. The callback we passed is setCelsius. By the time that setCelsius callback is invoked, the event object might have been recycled and no longer have the same value as when onChange was initially invoked. For more details about this, see using event values with useState in the Reason React docs. This is often why you'll see like event.persist in React code. So let's fix this here. And let's go back and prevent that bug with what we had. There we go. So exercise number 2. We can do this in Melange Playground. So let's open Melange Playground and hopefully it decides to load for us today. Kyle, cut this until we have this working. Dave, I don't know if you're in chat, but I've been having this problem where Melange Playground is not loading for me. And I can't figure out why. If I open it in incognito, it loads fine, but something like, I don't know what state is persisted here. Maybe if I go here to the top level domain, can I even get to the Melange docs? Let me try clearing my storage from here. That fixed it. Okay. Weird. If somebody in chat could clip that breaking and how I fixed it and post that in chat, I would really, really appreciate that. I'm gonna send that to the Melange core team as a bug. So let's grab this link and throw that in there. And let's get an empty state, collapse that over, bump the font size. Okay, exercise number 2. It's possible to use partial application with most functions in OCaml even operators. Take a look at the following program. Let add5 equals plus 5. js.log add5 2, js.log 7, 10. What do you think it outputs? So this is a good example of partial application. In OCaml, our operators are really just functions. So this is saying take the plus function, apply 5 to it. And since OCaml has partial application, this is going to return another function that accepts one argument and will perform the rest of the math. So if we paste this in, we would expect, if we switch to reason, if we actually get this pasted correctly, yep, there we go, 7, 12, and 15, exactly what we would expect. So you can see kind of what this compiles to, right? So add 5, this function is a param that takes 5 and then adds a param or 0. Or I guess not or 0, but yeah. Cool. Finally, the last exercise, use the pipe operator. Use the pipe last operator in partial application to write a function that takes an integer x, subtracts x from 10, and converts that result to binary. Okay. I believe, what would we call this? It takes an, let's just say my function, and that's going to take a argument. We're in reason. Right. is going to take a integer x, just say this is an int, subtracts, oh, it only takes one, so we can do that, and we'll come in here, give ourselves a function body, and let's give ourselves some room here, and we'll say array function that takes an integer argument, subtracts x from 10, so we'll say 10 minus x, and then converts that result to binary. I believe we can use, I actually don't know how to convert that to, I think we can use toString, and then toString has a, yeah, into string has a js dot int dot toString, and it's going to be, I don't think it's binary. Let's go look this up on Mozilla. Mozilla toString. In fact, we can go, this is probably the one we want. We want it to be, yeah, 2. We want it to be in base 2. This expression has type string and is not a function that can be applied. Why not? Is that okay? If we do that, and see here, into string. So what is the radix argument here? An integer. Well, let's see what the function signature of this is. See if we can figure this out. I can't get type definition, so let's just go ahead and look at the solution. And we'll open up a code playground. And here's how they solve that. Oh, it's a labeled argument. That's why. Nice. Cool. Well, that is going to conclude the chapter on our Celsius converter. Okay. This next one's a lot shorter. So let's close this, and we'll keep that up, and we'll come over here, close that, slash marker, and first vid slash marker. And this will be marker second vid, which will be chapter, what is this, chapter 4 that we're moving on to? This one will be much quicker, chat, and then we'll get into actual programming. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me take a sip of coffee. Chapter 4, Celsius converters with options. Cool. Welcome back to our next video in our Melange for React developer series, where we're reading through Melange for React devs. We're going to be covering chapter 4 today, titled Celsius converter using options. Summary of our chapter is going to be the same component from the previous chapter, but replacing exception handling with the option type. We're going to learn about the option type, how to use option.map, and when guards. So without further ado, let's dive in. Celsius converter using option. After all the changes we made in the last chapter, your Celsius converter might look something like this. Yep, that's pretty close to what we have, if not identical. What happens if you forget the exception branch of your switch expression. Your program will crash when invalid input is entered. The compiler won't warn you to add an exception branch because it doesn't keep track of which functions throw exceptions. Next, it will show you a better way which completely avoids functions that can fail in unexpected ways. Float of string opt. Refactor the expression to use float of string opt instead. This function has the type signature string to an option of float. It takes a string argument and returns some number if it succeeds and none if it fails, meaning that if this function fails, no exception is raised. So let's refactor this, and we are going to, in our switch, take Celsius. This is going to be of opt, and we will get rid of this bit here. This can now be a none, and this will be error. And down here we'll have our Fahrenheit, and we'll have to perform the rest of our calculations. In fact, we need to unbox our Fahrenheit value from the sum constructor. And we'll do Fahrenheit into our convert function, and then we'll pipe that into js.float.toFixed. Add that digits, which is our labeled argument, equals 2, and toFixed, and then we need to plus plus, we need another paren there, and we'll add our paren at the beginning, and then we pipe that. Actually, this should be correct. What are we missing here? Unclosed, boom, on line 22. So line 22 is here. That's closed. So it looks like we need to, that's closed. Actually, oh, there we go. It's just the LSP lagging. So we're good there. In terms of functionality, this does exactly what the previous version did. But a critical difference is that if you comment out the /none branch, the compiler will refuse to accept it. So recall that when we had the exception and we commented it out or removed it, the compiler was just fine. However, when we use an option and we comment it out, it's going to be like, hey, we have an error now. This pattern matching is not exhaustive. Here's an example of a case that is not matched. None. So let's add that back in. You would get a similar error if you left off the sum branch. Having an option value be the input for a switch expression means that you can't forget to handle the failure case, much less the success case. There's another advantage. The or sum Fahrenheit branch gives you access to the float that was successfully converted from the string, and only this branch has access to that value. So you can be reasonably sure that the success is handled here and not somewhere else. You're starting to experience the power of pattern matching in OCaml. Option.map. It's a shame we had to give up the long chain of function calls from when we were still using float of string. Celsius, the float of string, to convert to fixed. Actually, we can still use a very similar chain of functions with float of string opt if we make a couple of small additions. So we're going to refactor to use option.map. So let's come back up here, and we'll come in here and we'll say float of string, and we'll pipe that to option.map convert, and then we'll pipe that to option.map js.float.toFixed, pass in our digits, equals 2. And here you're starting to see a bunch of the concepts that we covered already come together. We're building these pipelines with our pipeline operator, we're using partial application, and we're using our option type. So let's save that and format it. And of course, we're going to get a type error here. So now down here, we already have converted this Celsius to a string in this step right here. So this is no longer a number type. It is now a string type. So we can actually come down here and delete everything in here, since we did it with our option maps, and pipe that, or not pipe it, we can concatenate that with that, and there we go. We're happy. Option.map takes a function and an option value and only invokes the function if the option was sum. Hovering over it, you can see that its type signature is a function that goes from A to B, and the second argument being an option of A. So what this is saying is if this option in the second parameter is a sum value rather than a num value, we're going to take that internal A value and call this function on it, and then return a new option containing the B that we returned. Breaking the type signature down, the first argument A to B is a function which accepts a value of type A, placeholder for any type, and returns a value of type B, also a placeholder for any type, though it may be a different type than A. The second argument, option A, is an option that wraps around the value of type A. The return type of option.map is option B, which is an option that wraps around a value of B. The implementation of option.map is fairly straightforward, consisting of a single switch expression. So this is how you could actually implement the actual option.map function. So let map equals a function and an option. We're going to switch on the option. If it's none, we're just going to return none. But if it is sum, we're going to pull out the value. We're going to call the function we passed in on that value and rewrap it in sum. You may be interested in browsing the many other helper functions relating to options in the standard library's option module. At this point, your switch expression might look like this. Yep, that looks pretty much identical to what we have. Enter the when guard. What if we wanted to render a message of complaint when the temperature goes above 212 degrees Fahrenheit, the boiling point of water, and not even bother to render the converted number? It could look like this. In our sum case, we can then go ahead and use a ternary. Fahrenheit is greater than 212. We'll return unreasonably hot. Otherwise, we'll return our normal process. This works, but OCaml gives you a construct that allows you to do the float comparison without using a nested ternary expression. We can add a new branch to our switch statement. So let's go ahead and do this. We'll say sum Fahrenheit, and then we'll add our when guard when Fahrenheit is greater than 212 degrees. Then we'll return this bit over here. So let's grab that and paste it. So this is part of the beauty of pattern matching, and stuff like this is exactly why I love working in languages that have pattern matching. So here you'll notice we get a type error, right? Because in our switch statement, we are converting our option to a string before we start matching on it. So let's get rid of the second option.map here. And now this needs to be converted back to a string. So let's grab that code, and we're gonna wanna take this, and we'll go over here. We'll paste that in there. And this will be our first argument. Put the comma there, delete that. And now we should be good. So if we go check our running app, let's see, I forget what port we're running on. We are running on port 5173. So let's go check that in the browser. And if we convert to something above, well, there we go, unreasonably hot. So that's all working. The when guard allows you to add extra conditions to a switch expression branch, keeping nesting of conditionals to a minimum and making your code more readable. I love this because you can quickly, at a glance, see all of the possible conditions and branches that a pattern match can have. Hooray! Our Celsius converter is finally complete. Later we'll see how to create a component that can convert back and forth between Celsius and Fahrenheit, but first we'll explore Dune, the build system used by Melange. As a recap, prefer functions that return options over those that throw exceptions. When the input of a switch expression is an option, the compiler can helpfully remind you to handle the error case. Option.map is very useful when chaining functions that return options. And we can also use a when guard to make our switch expressions more expressive without nesting conditionals. So now we have some exercises. So exercise 1. If you enter a space in the input, it'll unintuitively produce a Fahrenheit value of 32 degrees because float of string empty equals sum 0. handle this case correctly by showing question mark Fahrenheit instead. So we can probably pattern match on this. String convert. We can add a new branch here, and we'll say sum Fahrenheit when Fahrenheit equals 0.0 unused variable Fahrenheit, and we'll come over here and we'll change this to, oh, that should probably be an equal. We'll change this to return our lovely Fahrenheit bit. So let's grab that, yoink, and we'll come over here and swap that out. So now if we come check, we should be maybe we didn't get it. So let's see where our bug is. Float of string opt equals sum 0. We convert. So what does our convert do? So we want to, that doesn't return a string. Convert, okay. So we are going to have to refactor this a little bit. So let's make our bit bigger here. And we will take this, and rather than calling convert in here, we will do a match. Where would we want to do this match? We can move this. So let's just move this down below here. We'll throw that here and throw that in a comment. And then this is going to be, now should be a float. Good. We'll return that. That sounds good. And then down here, we will pipe Fahrenheit into convert. We don't have to call option.map anymore because we are unboxing our option using pattern matching. So we can say Fahrenheit, and we'll pass that into convert. And then we'll pass the result of that into js.float. And we can use partial application and do that. And hopefully, this expression has type string. We probably have to wrap this in parens. And there we go. That should now handle our case. If we go take a look, we get our error. Let's see here. Is that what we wanted? Let's check the solution. We have a string.trim function. I guess that makes sense. We could have done that. That was probably the smarter option. Okay, so second exercise. So let's just go ahead and copy their solution since it is better than ours. And we'll take this and we'll view around that, paste that in, format, there we go. Add another branch with a when guard that renders unreasonably cold if the temperature is less than 128.6. Okay, so we know how to do that. So let's grab that line, and over here we'll just switch that to there, and this will be negative 128.6. We can delete that. And now we should be able to come over here and let's do negative. So we appear to have a problem. What is our problem? Negative 75, negative 90. If Fahrenheit is greater than 212, what did we do wrong here? Am I just having skill issues? Is it the order? So we have negative 128.2. If we go to negative 90, we hit unreasonably hot. So I think, do we have a bug here? Let's copy that. And I'll actually ask chat here to see if they see anything that I may be doing wrong. Negative 90. Now it's unreasonably cold. I am not actually sure what I was doing differently there. I bet I copied. I am almost certain I copied. Yeah, there was our bug, chat. Copy, paste error. Okay, well, we got that right. We just copied and pasted incorrectly. So we'll fix that up. Cool. So we did have the right solution. Use JS float dot from string instead of float of string op to parse a string to float. Note that JS float from string does not return none if it fails to parse string to a valid float. Let's take a look at this. What does this return? Raises a range error. Okay. So we will change this to be js.float.fromString, and in here we'll have to now match on different cases. And we can do, let's see here. This says it returns a t, which our t is let nan. So maybe we can do, we can write a little helper function here, and we can say, let we'll do of JS float. So let's say let of JS float, and this will take a value that is going to be a js.float.t, and we'll then pipe this into, not pipe it, we'll make a function and we'll switch on value. Actually, we'll just say js.float.isNone value, and we'll do our ternary, and we'll say if it is none, we'll return nan, otherwise we'll return our sum. Let's see here, what is this subset about? Oh, right, that needs to be a colon. So our function signature here should be a float to option float, and then we can take this and we can keep everything, and we'll just do of JS float. What is this? Oh, because this has to be defined above. So let's go ahead and put that up here. And now that should work. We should actually rename this. A better name for this might be like JS float opt. Yeah, something like that. And now we can keep everything, and let's see what they said their recommended solution was. Use JS float is not a number. Yep, they did the exact thing we did. Excellent. Awesome. Cool. Well, that wraps up the fourth chapter here on we built a Celsius converter using options. We'll catch you next time where we start learning about Dune. Marker and vids. All right, let's get some music going and let's actually write some real code, chat, shall we? All right, Gleam time. Let's code, boys. and girls and people who don't identify with boy or girl. Everyone is welcome here. Let's come over here and we'll do this. Let's go ahead and drop in the Gleam Discord that we're starting. Good morning, y'all. It's time. Alrighty. So yesterday, actually, I have a nice little diagram that I can catch everyone up who wasn't here yesterday or been following along. We have been working on building a Twitch client in Gleam, and we have, for the past couple mornings, been working on building OAuth tooling to manage getting access tokens and authenticating and making sure we can actually properly use the API with scopes and things like that. So we built this service that looks like I missed the top part of this. So let's grab this. There we go. So we built this service over the past couple days. We spin up a main process, which starts a token fetcher. The token fetcher then starts a redirect server, which is a temporary HTTP server, which the HTTP server itself is using a Gleam library called Mist. So the redirect server starts an HTTP Mist server. The token fetcher then opens up a browser to Twitch to authenticate. And once it's authenticated, Twitch will use a redirect URL to redirect to that and sends the code back to us. And that ends up hitting our redirect server. The redirect server takes that code, passes it back to our token fetcher. Our token fetcher stops the redirect server, stops the Mist server, and then issues a post request. This is actually should be post, not get. Issues a post request to OAuth token to Twitch, and we get an access token back, which comes back to the token fetcher, which then goes back to our main process. So if we look at what that looks like in practice, if we come in here, let me check and make sure my font size is good. It is. Excellent. My NeoVim exploded today, dude. Ultimately was an exe I was running on Yank to clipboard. Whoa. What? How is that happening? So is this running right now? URI. I don't think this is what we want. We're going to want to pass in URI here, just as a demo of what we've been doing. Well, we will say, what is that? It is the redirect URI. Okay, so we just need to parse that. So we'll say, let assert okay URI equals URI.parse URI. And let's actually make this redirect URI. Change that. So if we run this now, we should see it. Do we have something commented out in our main? Our main would help if we actually ran code, right, chat? In fact, I think I can git pool. Say whip. And we'll do a git pool. Probably merge conflicts. No. Okay, cool. So if we run this now, we should see our browser open. Gleam run. Boom. Hits there. Redirects. Not quite sure why the redirect didn't work over here, but that's okay. We'll work through it. Oh, that's right. I forgot you dev on Windows. Also, shout out to DevDad. If y'all aren't following him, you absolutely should be. huge inspiration. All right, so let's jump back into our token fetcher. And yesterday we were writing this function that created a new redirect URI. So let's do that. So we need to take this URI and construct it up here. So let's say const, we'll say this is, pop open our extended URI. Our host is going to be this bit here. So let's grab this. And we can get rid of HTTPS. We don't need that. And we'll take that. In fact, we can probably just leave it as that. And down here we have URI extended.new, and then we can say URI.priceSetHost. Maybe. Oh no, we have to use our extended module because there's not a lot. Set host, and we'll pass in host. Expected type URI. Ah. And we'll actually do URI extended host of string, host from string. So let's actually come up here. And we'll say let assert OK, because we know this is going to be fine. This will be host equals URI extended dot host from string, and we'll say host. And in here, we'll pass in the host. And then what is this URI extended stuff? I have this pattern, Haley, in OCaml. It'll be really common to wrap the standard library modules and like extend them. So a good example is if we look at, I hate this song. Let's see here. Do I have, yeah, extended. So like I take the list module. A lot of times you'll actually do something, this isn't a very good example, but if we go to Melange Playground instead, you'll do something like switch to OCaml, you'll have this and you'll do like include list. And that effectively adds all of the list. It basically spreads the list module inside of another module. So now I have my own custom wrapper around the list standard library module with like extra functionality. So I can be like list dot, chunk, along with all the other standard library things. So I copied that pattern to some extent. We obviously can't wrap modules in Gleam. So my solution to extending the standard library was having like this like little extended package. And in here, I just have like different bits and pieces of the standard library where I extend them with functionality. Like they still operate on the standard library types, but just with kind of more helper functions that I find useful. Dylan, did you get the clip from Launch Test? Oh no, I need to go back and grab that. Thank you for clipping that, John. I really appreciate that. That will be useful for the devs to fix up the playground. So that's kind of the pattern I've been doing with extending. Okay. Let me check the audio levels because this is pretty loud in my ears. We want to sit right around 35. All right, so we set the host, and then we will set the path. So let's say const not const, Jesus. Too much TypeScript, chat. We'll say assert, okay. And we'll say this is gonna be the path. And we'll do URI extended. And we'll do path from segments. And we'll pass in a array, or not array, a string, where it's going to be, let's see here, what is that? OAuth 2 and then authorize. OAuth 2 and authorize. And then down here, we will set URI extended, set path, and we'll put in the path. And finally, we need our query params, which I think we can get off the token fetcher. We need the client ID, so let's bump those up here. I'll comment those. Token fetcher.client. Right. Option.unwrap. Let me check my text real quick. And let me check Slack real quick. Why did the music stop? Did I just disconnect? What? Chat, can you still hear me? Are we live? No, okay. Apple Music just decided to shit the bed. Okay, that was really, really weird. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so we are now at a point where we are getting the client ID. And what is this subset about? Right, it's unwrapping a redirect URI, which is on our token fetcher is a actual URI. And we'll just say URI. It should actually really be we'll say this is default redirect URI. Your Apple Music was broken AF last night. Yeah, I should really switch back to Spotify, but I get Apple Music for free, so it's hard to justify that cost. And there are some things about Apple Music which are nicer than Spotify. I think holistically Spotify is nicer than Apple Music, but you can't put a price on free. My late grandfather once said, anything free is worth saving up for. And we'll put in the default redirect URI there. Okay. Too much. Beans and X bar. And then I think the last thing we need to add is our query params, right? So we need to add response type. So let's say we'll take this redirect URI and we'll actually just pipe this into In fact, we can do something even better here. We can take U, delete to the comma, go to the beginning of the line, paste that in, pipe that into option.unwrap, delete the comma, and then we'll pipe this into option, well, we don't even need to option map. We can use URI extended dot set query. Did I add that function yesterday? Whoops. Set query. So it's going to take a list of strings. So we'll come in here. Functions describe the world has become a daily phrase between my partner and me. What does that sound from? I love that. It is from a clip of a college professor like losing his mind.
Are you still recording videos?
Huh?
Are you still recording videos?
No, I'm done recording.
Okay. Baxter's gonna eat in here. I am going to meet Patty and work
Okay.
for the morning. So.
Sounds good. Can you move the bowl a little to the
Yes.
left so chat can help me protect against Bodhi?
Yes. Is
Um,
that good?
I'll move over. Oh, this way. Chat, you know the drill. If the big white dog tries to eat from that bowl, alarm me.
Even though it's delayed.
John says, "Hi, Justine. Looking blazingly good as always."
Blazingly. I like that. That's a good one. Good job, Doc.
Functions describe the world.
Alright.
All right, Haley, here's the clip it's from. Let me pause the music so you can get the full experience here.
Wait, I need your help. Will you open this?
Do you need this open?
Yeah. I can't do it with my nails. Thanks.
It's so good. Oh my god. Actually, we're gonna keep listening to this. I love Kingdom Hearts Lo-Fi. Here, I'll link that video too for you, Haley. It's so good. Okay, so we gotta set our query now. Let me bump down the volume. How's the volume, chat? Is it okay? I've got it right around 35 decibels, which is where I normally have the music for you guys. Does it sound all right? I've heard him so much, I feel like I know him. Thank you for the follow, Briefost. Okay, I'm getting distracted. What am I doing? John just posted a link. Let's look at that. We got, well, John, you see, this is a 404 page. And that happens when you navigate to a web resource that's not found. So that's your problem. So let's add our query params here. Let's just pass an empty list, and then we'll do let query params. And this will be a list of tuples. I love, Haley, that you and your partner walk around saying that. That's like my favorite thing. It's the best thing I found out this week. So we'll say response type will be code. if I could type. Guys, I caused my first incident at work yesterday. I went to fix a bug and unknowingly opened like a 7-year-old JavaScript file in the Vercel site code base, and I didn't know it was JavaScript, and I went to fix a bug, and I was relying on IntelliSense and TypeScript, and I accidentally committed to prod a line of code that broke a screen in our dashboard because it tried to access a variable that was undefined. So that was fun. I had no idea it was JavaScript. It's interesting working on the oldest and largest Next.js site in the world. So this needs to get client ID. It's cool though seeing like code committed from like 7 years ago from like Guillermo into the repo. Are you allowed to say what time you work on at Vercel? What do you mean, what time? Nothing to fear, dude. That's bringing down a prod is just natural habitat. Oh yeah, I have made so many mistakes at this point in my career that, you know, yeah. So we'll need, do we pass in scopes? We probably need scopes. So we'll get scopes, and that'll be a list of scope. And we probably need to bring in scope then. Here's our types. This will be, oh, somebody asked me about my NeoVim setup earlier. I'm sorry that I forgot about that. I got distracted. Briefrost, man, NeoVim looks cool. Is this a pre-built or custom? Briefrost, this is custom. You can find my dot files here. And I also, is it NeoVim? Yeah, I have a video walking through my config line by line. Sorry, team. Yeah, I can talk about what team I work on at Vercel. I work on a team called the Lifecycle team, and that's just like a fancy way of saying I work on the team that owns accounts and teams. So like when you log into your Vercel dashboard, like your personal account and then all the teams that you're a part of, like I maintain and own the systems that work with those. Glitch types, and this needs to be scope, and we'll bring in type scope. And then this needs to be do we want to have optional scopes? Scopes should probably be mandatory. Be a list of scope. Whether we need a comma there, and then we'll pass in scopes. Great. Our errors down here, and I think we need scope. And we're gonna have to URL encode our scopes. So let's write a function. Where would we want to do that? Would we want to put that in our scope module? So really we just need to, we'll do let scopes equals token fetcher dot scopes, and we'll pass that into list.fold. and list.fold will get, we need to bring list in probably. I don't think we have list in here. No, we don't. So let's grab list. And we'll come back down here. Expected 3. I can't get the hover docs on this. I should try setting up the other language server. We'll do that once we get through this here. Let's go pull up the standard docs, list, and fold. Where are you? Fold. I love that fold until is in the standard library. I end up writing that all the time in OCaml. So we're gonna fold over our list. Our initial state's the first one, so that'll be an empty string. And then our function will be this will be a function that gets a scope. And we'll come in here and we'll say URI.percent encode the scope. And it's actually a function that gets the accumulator. And then we'll say accumulator, is it caret like OCaml? No. What is the string concat operator in Gleam? Is it plus plus? Nope, that's not right either. Gleam. Thank you, Haley. Brefrost, can you explain to me what is this newfound hype with Gleam and OCaml? Is it really worth it outside of passion projects? So, Brefrost, the beauty of OCaml and Gleam is its type system. There are distinct differences in type systems. So like TypeScript has a totally different type system than OCaml and Gleam, which has a totally different type system from something like Java or C#. And different type systems change the developer experience and the safety of our programs. The type system that Gleam and OCaml use is based on an algorithm called Hindley-Milner. And Hindley-Milner essentially gives you bulletproof type inference. In TypeScript, we don't have bulletproof type inference because it is a gradually typed system, meaning that you can gradually add types to JavaScript, right? That's what it means to be gradually typed. And because JavaScript is a dynamic language, it makes it very, very, very difficult to have a sound type system on top of it. And what it means to have a sound type system is that if your code compiles, there will be no runtime type errors. Now, TypeScript can compile our code successfully, yet we can still get runtime type errors because it is not a sound type system. And that's not to say that TypeScript isn't useful or good. It's just, it's not a bulletproof type system like Gleam and OCaml have. So Gleam and OCaml give you this extra certainty with its type system. Plus it has the added benefit of being able to infer our types. Now you'll see in my code here that like I am annotating almost all of my types. That's because this is going to be in a public facing, this is like a client library on the API surface. But I could remove a bunch of these type annotations and the type system would accurately infer these for us. So the type system in OCaml and Gleam, in my experience and my opinion, work with me more and stay out of my way when compared to something like TypeScript or Java. Hopefully that's like a somewhat useful breakdown of why these languages are nice. Okay, this is scope. Wait, what? Token fetcher.scopes. That's a list of scope. In fact, we can just percent encode at the very end rather than doing this. And we can do, we'll have to do scope.toString too. That's one thing I forgot to do. And where's our error now? Yeah, we'll just add. So we're concatenating this string. Do we need to separate? User right. So it's a plus. Is that what I'm seeing? User something right. Yeah, so in here we have to add plus. Do that, and at the very end down here we will say, I think under the covers, this will URI encode for us. In fact, I might have built that into our URI extended thing. URI query toString. I think that function percent encodes for us. My experience with languages like TypeScript is I'm often writing types to satisfy the compiler. My experience with Gleam, Elm, and Haskell is that I write types to model something. Or in other words, I find TS and similar language quite behavior-driven in terms of development, e.g., I know what I want, now I need to work out what I need to make a check. Languages like Gleam, much more type-driven. That's a great way to put it, Haley. Like, even in TypeScript now, I have started designing my types up front rather than trying to just like do it the TypeScript way. And I end up fighting the compiler a lot less. But if you just try to go straight into TypeScript, that's like oftentimes why TypeScript is exhausting, and you come up with these like giant, very complicated generic types and type mappers and these ternary types, is because you're trying to capture JavaScript's dynamic nature in a static type system, which is very, very difficult. And to the TypeScript team's credit, like they've done a fantastic job. But if you take a step back and rather than like just solving your problem the JavaScript way, you take a minute, like, how would I model this thinking about simple types first? You still will bump into these edge cases, but I find that that helps. I actually have started writing TypeScript in a similar method to OCaml and Gleam, where I will essentially have modules, right? Like one TypeScript file exports functions that operate primarily on one type, and generally those functions will take that type as a first argument. So it's very much like Gleam, where it's going to be like, URI, and it takes a URI as the first argument. So I've started writing TypeScript like that, and it's made life pretty nice. So we have these scopes. And I think we should be okay if we come down here then and drop in scopes and then set query. This will be query params. Yeah. Oh, let me take care of the dogs barking. I'm stuck between crazy dynamism and nil punning, primarily closure, and the strong types pattern matching of Elm. I like them both and can't tell which I like more. I feel like Gleam is a good middle ground, or maybe even Elixir. What up, Cyprian? Hi, Alice. Wait, did you guys see Sabine's tweet today? This was the first thing I saw when I woke up this morning. The very first thing I do is I open my phone and I open Twitter and I see Sabine respond to this tweet right here. And I'm just like, oh my God. I died when I read that. It's so funny. Oh my. I love Sabine. I feel like an algebraic type system without pattern matching is like a one-legged horse. I find both JS and OM insanely productive, and TS is like the worst of both worlds. I think that's a really good sentiment. All right, so I think we have everything here. So we've got our scopes, we've got the redirect URI. Oh no, we don't. We need to put in. Okay, so I'm dealing with two different URIs here. This is where I confused myself. So we need one more here. Let's sort these real quick. We'll have redirect URI. And yeah, I totally botched this. Yeah, okay. Okay, that makes sense. Unlucky Divil said, hey, I have a question about WordPress. If I buy Elementor Pro for a month and expires, will the functionality I ended using the Pro version stop working, or will I simply not be able to edit it? I don't know really anything about WordPress. I've worked on one WordPress project in my life, and that was Web Stories when I was doing a contract at Google. I have no idea what Elementor Pro is, but I'm guessing you probably have like an API key to interact with it, and when that expires, it will stop working. So I'm guessing it will probably stop working. But if anyone else in chat knows, give our friend Unlucky Divil some advice. So this is actually wrong. The redirect URI is something different. Let's just add it to do. I didn't know this. We had this as keyword down here. So we'll say we have a, let's say we also have const path segments is going to be that, and then we can jump down here, and this will be path segments. And then we need to go back up, and we need like const redirect URI, and that's going to be a URI where, oh, we've got a raid. How are we doing today? Thank you for the raid. I assume you were streaming OCaml. Why did that not let me shout you out? There we go. Oh. Yes, we completed your first OCaml program. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I need to go watch through your YouTube series. Let's check this out. Love it. Do you have any video contents covering string printing? Because that's one thing I find a lot of people get caught up on. Whoops. Let's say default redirect URI is going to be, I forget what the redirect URI. We'll say scheme will be HTTP, and then we'll say, let's change this. This will be none. Host will be localhost. Port, that needs to be some. And this will be some. The port will be 3000. And then our path will be redirect. Perfect. Oh, I need to finish. Right, we need to add all of the fields. Scheme, user info, host, port, path, query, and fragment. There we go. Can I not have this at a top level? I'm guessing I can't because I think that counts as a function call. Maybe I can. Maybe we can have constructors at the top level. Constructor calls are okay? Okay, cool. HTTP comes from Gleam HTTP. HTTP. Is there a scheme to string? Whoops, that's not what we wanted. And let's look in here for Gleam HTTP. I think I ended up writing this. Oh, no, they do have a scheme to string. So let's go ahead and write some. Well, I guess we don't even need to use that, right? We can just do it the easy way, right? Let's just do HTTP. It'll be fine. Okay, so that's our default then. So in here, I need to find the name for this URI because I don't want to call both of these things redirect URIs because that is confusing. Register an application, authentication. So what do we call this? We'll just call this the, I guess, authorization URI rather than redirect URI. Authorization URI. And that way we can, we don't have like overloaded words here. And this will be default authorization URI, fact, we can just get rid of that. And we'll take this, move that up above. And the redirect URI here is where we want to do something similar to what we were doing before. In fact, we can copy this. We'll move that up. Throw that right here. Uncomment that. And this will be just say default. And honestly, we can probably do the same thing as we did before here. That. And this will be redirect URI equals this. And we'll delete there, just paste that in there and comma that, go to the beginning of the line. And this is going to be, that was a weird inference there. And we'll say URI dot toString. And now maybe it does make sense to put that back at the beginning of the line and pipe. Okay. That will go here. Query params. And then we can take you, throw you there. Good. So we can actually simplify some of this stuff up here. We'll do the same thing. We'll say const base authorization URI equals a URI. And we'll actually just copy this. Paste that in. This will be HTTPS. The base will be this guy up here. Can drop that in there. Delete that. We don't need a port, so this will be none. The route will be, this is where I always get confused if I need the slash or not. I don't think I need the first slash. And this is why I built some of those helper methods. Let's go, John. Okay, we can get rid of this. And then rather than saying new, we can get rid of these. And this will be base authorization URI. In fact, this doesn't need to be a pipe. This can just be that. And we'll paste that there. Go back to the beginning, that, delete that line. We don't need either of those. There we go. All right, so now we should be constructing the same URI. And down here, this needs to be option.unwrap state.redirect URI, or we'll do the default redirect URI. And we don't need the assert on that anymore. Delete that. Warning, new authorization URI, yep. And then down here we can use that for, we'll say this is going to be let authorization URI equals new authorization URI, and we'll pass in our token fetcher, and that will be this one. We'll pipe that to string. Okay, and then down here, this will be authorization URI as well. Great. Then we should already have a redirect URI, right? We do. Okay, let's go check on our, actually we can probably, is this our redirect server? Make sure we're properly using everything in here. Okay, this all looks good. So let's see if this actually runs, shall we, chat? Let's bump this over. Kill the server. We'll say Gleam build. Okay, so we do have errors in our entry point. And this is because this has to take a scopes list now. Right. Right. So let's add our scopes. Let scopes, we have to bring in import glitch slash types slash scope. And we'll say is going to be a list where it'll be scope dot, oh, can I not get autocomplete on that? Scopes. Oh, that needs to be that. So that should infer that then as a list of scope. Can I get scope dot? No, the constructors aren't on there, right? Okay, so the scopes I need will be listed in this string up here. Oh, we forgot to add the random state. We should do that before I forget about it. This will be csurf state. There we go. Cool. Okay, that looks good. Can we build? Yes. So if we go ahead and Gleam run, pops open, and we never hit our redirect server because our redirect localhost 3000 redirect. I wonder if that feels to me like we might be running on the wrong port. Let's go before we get ahead of ourselves again, because I am getting so distracted. We need to add our scopes. So we'll go here. I'm gonna, actually, we're just gonna go to here, and we're gonna vim in this, source, app, and okay, that doesn't help me at all. Maybe I can get my scopes. Decode URI, and we'll paste in that string. Oh, already had. That doesn't help me. What is %3? Decode URI component. We say a %3ab. It's a colon. Okay. So if we do grab scope and we go to there and copy that and pass that to decode URI component. There we go. Copy that, come back over here, put that there, comment that, and we'll go to our scope module. And in our scopes, we want to import can I not reference that using dot notation? Scope dot like user, oh yeah, I can. Okay, user right chat, and then I want scope dot chat user, or no, that would be user bot, and then channel bot, scope dot channel bot. Yeah, there we go. Okay, there's our scopes. That's pretty cool. I like that. I'm glad that I typed out all of these. This is really convenient. All right, let's see if that gets any better here. I doubt that's our bug. I think the bug's probably that it's running on a different default port or something. Ah, invalid scope requested. So it was our scopes. So let's take a look at this. State, that's fine. That looks fine. That looks fine. Ah, chat. Right there's our problem. It's in our fold. This totally saying the word fold just like triggered this in my brain. It folds. Okay, that should fix our problem there. Let's kill that. Bit of a strange choice to use fold for the left fold on a list. Why is that weird? I feel like that is most people's like assumption, right? Because if you're coming from like JavaScript, reduce folds from the left. And then even in like Jane Street base, let's just go to ocaml.org. I'm pretty sure in base, fold is from the left. Fold, 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 fold. Yeah. Fold is just normal left. Because the right fold is the natural fold. It's just a constructor substitution. Like a left fold is more of a fold if your list were a hypothetical less associative lift. I think left folds are easier to think about. At least when it comes to writing code, like I'm so used to just folding from the left being the default that like it would throw me off if it folded from the right. All right, let's see if this fixed our thing, our problem. Gleam run, hit that, redirect, borked. So let's see if our server's actually running. So let's pull open Yak. By the way, chat, Yak is amazing. I am a huge fan. Okay, so we have a server running because we got a 404, which tells me that we're setting up our redirects incorrectly. So we go to our token fetcher. Where do we spin up our server? Localhost on 3000, HTTP. If you have a right fold, it's just fold right plus goes one plus. That's, I mean, that's a fair point. I'm gonna go charge my coffee mug, chat. I'll be right back. Okay. So our redirect server is, we do new, we get our redirect URI. So let's IO debug this, io.debug our redirect URI. And we'll put above that io.println token fetcher. And let's bring that in. And now let's go to our redirect server. And when we spin up our new router, let's see here. That's going to be in our start. We pass in state. So we get a default port, which should be fine. We go into new router, which I can't go to definition on. It's annoying. We get path, URI toString, server redirect. Oh, we need to get the path off of this. Right, because this is a full URI now. Redirect, path. And this will be server dot redirect URI dot path. Equals that. There we go. That should hopefully. I agree that right fold is the more natural default. Or hold on, I missed some chats here. Haley said F sharp fold from left. Elm is fold from left. Belt, as we saw, is fold from left. I agree that right fold is the more natural default, but from the left will match more people's expectations, even if their expectations are maybe not conceptually right. Okay, I guess I was just biased. Definitely makes sense from that perspective that a left fold is usually safer in a strict language because it's tail recursive. Fold L, fold right. Yeah, I agree with Haley here. Yeah, I see the arguments both ways. Does Gleam have fold left and it's just an alias? Fold, 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 fold right. No, it's just fold and fold right. Yeah, I'm kind of indifferent. I would say either do fold left and fold right and not have a default fold, but then that's like not as good of a DX. I think where it landed is pretty good. All right, hopefully this works this time, or we run into another error. Boom, hit. Successfully received it. We got it over here. The full flow works, chat. Let's go. Let's remove that debug. And remove those, and then we can go up here, remove IO. And now we want to think about how we want to add, let's do a commit before I forget. Update or dynamically build auth plus redirect URIs. Push. I mean, we can look at the implementation, Nightshade. Doesn't look like they're actually FFI'd. But yeah, this is, if you ever want to know how to implement fold or reduce from scratch over a linked list chat. Right here it is. Pretty simple. Okay. Let's see here. The next thing is we want to think about how to do token refreshes. Do we build that into the token fetcher? I'm not sure. Because the pattern I'm going for is something similar to this, where there's like this refreshing auth provider that you can supply to the client, and then you can just like indefinitely use your client. So let's add the concept of auth providers, and I think we might find ourselves in a circular dependency problem here because our token provider uses the client to make REST requests, and then we're going to say, but the client should have an auth provider. So this might get a little hairy for a second till we figure out how to design this, but let's just say we have a, let's see here. They have a app token auth provider, a static auth provider, and an auth provider. What are the difference between these? I know we figured this out yesterday. So this is a client token. So use client ID. So that does that one. And then the other form is auth provider, which looks like it's probably just a superclass or something. And a static auth provider is going to be an authorization flow, I assume. An auth provider that always returns the same initially given credentials. You're advised to roll your own auth provider that can handle scope upgrades. Okay. That makes sense. Okay, that all makes sense. So let's make our static auth provider. And this is going to pub type, maybe we have just auth provider, and then we'll have an opaque type. Maybe it doesn't need to be opaque. We'll see. Pub type auth provider, and in here we'll have static provider, static auth provider, refreshing auth provider, and a client credentials auth provider. And we'll make a pub function. Let's plan out our API here. So we want a new function. Let's just say to do, and we'll want pub function get token, get access token, let's actually say this is going to return a access token. That might need to be a result. probably will need to be a result. We'll say it returns nil for now, but actually let's give a type auth provider error. And we'll just make that. And this will be a to-do. What else does this thing have on it? So it has an internal user cache. We're just going to do it for one user to start. Let's look at the symbol outline. Add user, has user, remove user, add intents, refresh token, get access token. Oh, get. Yeah, let's start simple and we'll say get pub function get scopes. And this will return a list of scope. And let's go up here, import glitch slash types slash access token. And we'll bring in our type access token. Yes, typo. All right, this music is now putting me to sleep. Where the hell is it coming from? Oh, it's Lord of the Rings. Went to Lord of the Rings lo-fi. This will be scope. And we'll bring in scope there. Get wrecked, Badger. We'll want new static provider. And this will return a auth provider. And then we'll do a pub function new refreshing provider. And then we'll do, finally, pub function, that needs a to-do, pub function new client credentials provider. That will return an auth provider with a to-do. Great. So these will have to have some state. And the state these are going to need are the static. Let's sort these quick. It's going to need, you will need client ID as a string, client secret as a string, whoops, and a list of scopes. And this one, let's go to our token fetcher and see what we'll need. That'll just need this will need a client ID, a string. So probably also need a redirect URI, which will be a option string, or URI, I should say. And what do they do over here for the static? Client ID, access token, and scopes. Okay. And this, rather than taking a redirect URI, is going to also have an access token, which will be an access token. Okay, so I think those are our providers. This seems reasonable. And it's going to need like a start. We're going to want to copy a similar pattern to what we do with our token fetcher, because it's going to use a token fetcher. In fact, yeah. So now this is going to become opaque. And we'll have a token fetcher on these. Token fetcher will be a token fetcher. I guess that's an option too. Or no, it won't be an option. We should always have a token fetcher. Import Gleam /auth /token fetcher, and we want the type of token fetcher. We'll also want token fetcher in a second. Oh, that's glitch, not Gleam. And, oh, that might be opaque. Yeah. Okay. That's okay. We'll use the new function. And in fact, all of these should have an access token, although some of them will be an option. Actually, I think this two. Where's the constructor? How does this authenticate without opening the browser? Okay, that's how it's happening. That makes sense. I'm going to add a link to this in our code because we soon have to wrap up, but we might be able to knock out some of this stuff here. Sorry, chat. I had to figure out what the hell this was working. I wonder why the static auth provider needs the client ID. An auth provider always returns the same initially given credentials. What does it do with the client ID? This .client ID, get client ID. Get a access token, load and compare token info. What does that do? That's an internal function. Get any access. Gets the static access token. Get access token. We pass load and compare token info, client ID, access token, user ID, scopes. Load and compare token info. So what does load and compare token info do? That's probably in here. Compare scopes for a non-upgradable auth provider instance, loading them from the token if necessary. So we get, okay, that all looks good. Calls get token info with the token and the client info, which get token info is up here. That makes a request to, okay, so we don't have that. And it gets user info. Oh, it just does some validation. Okay, that's good to know. Okay. Let's bang out our constructors here. And this is going to need client ID is a string, client secret is a string. It's going to need scopes, which is a list of scope. And then we need a optional redirect URI, which will be a option of URI. And then we don't worry about passing in the token fetcher because we're going to construct that ourselves. And down here, we'll say let token fetcher equals token fetcher dot new, and token fetcher will have a client. That's where we can't do this. The token fetcher can't. So that's where we're gonna have to restart tomorrow. Start here on Friday. Token fetcher can't use the client. All right, chat, we're gonna go raid somebody. Thank you everyone for hanging out as always. Super appreciate all of y'all. And let's go see who's streaming. Got Tej. Let's raid Cherie. We haven't raided Cherie in a while. All right, y'all. Have a lovely day. Kick some ass. Treat people with kindness. And sling some code. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Have a good one.